Welcome back, ladies and gents. Smash Property Podcast. I'm Nick V. We're here today with Akira from Smash Property Investing, and today we're going to talk a little bit about why being too rigid as an investor can get you stuck. We've seen it time and time again. We're going to go through some common ways people can be rigid and why they get stuck, or how they get stuck by being rigid, where that kind of comes from, the consequences of it, and what being a smart investor and a flexible investor really looks like, and a few other bits and pieces we're going to go through. But the Smash Property Podcast is back. It's been an amazing week. Welcome to you, Akira.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here as always. How's your week been?
Week has been really good. We've got a new buyer's agent on the books, which is awesome. So just getting him up to speed. Shout out to Dan if he is watching. We're in real growth phase with SPI. It really kind of like...
It's exciting.
It's exciting. It's, lots to look forward to. And we've come a long way in the past couple of months. Every month, it's just like something new's going on.
There's growth. That's the beautiful thing about, I feel like owning a business is kind of similar to property investing. Like the more you think you know, you actually don't know. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, the more you think you know, the more you don't know. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's a good mindset to have. Because I think the second you think you know everything is the second you're screwed. So,
game over.
Which is kind of on point with the topic
it's a good
today.
segue.
Very good segue. And this sort of comes about, we see all different types of investors, right, that we deal with. And infrequently, I wouldn't say it's common, but infrequently we have investors that are just like set on like one thing, one area, one type of property. They need a certain yield or whatever it might be. Like they have like an idea of what they want. But often you get investors that they want the result, whatever it is, their financial freedom, quit the job in 10 years, whatever, but their behaviors don't match that.
Yes.
And as people who are professionals in the industry and also who have portfolios, it is hard for me to not get frustrated when I see that sort of stuff, because I'm like, you're fucking just missing the point.
No, but I think the interesting to your point, like it's, someone wants something, but they're paying for a professional service to allow them to get to that goal, but then they don't want to listen to the advice or like 2 cents.
It's like, why pay for the advice if you're not going to take it? It's insane. I think that's insane.
Yeah. But I think, don't get me wrong, it's fine to have a gut feeling, but if there's no real validation behind why you're stuck in your certain mindset or perspective, that's when you got to look yourself in the mirror. Like if I ask you
a question, and you want a certain area, and I ask you why, and you can't answer it, it's a pretty good indication that you have a rigid mindset and whatever preconceived notion that you have. Like I said, it's infrequent, but let's sort of go into just some common ways that kind of people get stuck in this rigid mindset. And I think the first one sort of me is what we've just been talking about, because I know there's a recent example of it. They wanted a specific area. There was no rhyme or reason for the area other than what they've heard.
Oh no, but can I give a little context?
Yeah.
That person had a family member had invested there, and this was over 10 years ago, and it had done really well.
Are we talking about the same? Might be talking about the same one.
Are we?
Maybe there's a few. Holy shit! But the point is, like, if you want one area, one market, that's fine. But have a reason to have I always get this, a qualitative and a quantitative reason why. So don't just because your point a family member did well here 10 years ago.
And that's even worse if you ask me.
It's like, you should have bought 10 years ago then. Or I heard it on a podcast, maybe like this podcast or wherever, because podcasts and that are great. But like if you listen to a podcast from like 3-4 months ago, the stuff we're talking about then is not valid now. Right. So, we see a lot where people just get stuck in that one market mindset. And it is so limiting because what I see, both of us really, but we're looking at a lot of data and markets change so quickly. Like we've sort of pivoted in the last few weeks to different markets, right? Because of the moves and the changes in them, right? So if you're
Exactly.
just set on one location, you are really just narrowing yourself into a corner.
And in all fairness, I do have to pick on myself sometimes in my own brain. There's been a few times that you've told me about other markets that I need to research and look into, and I'm like, what are you talking about? No, stupid. Let's just stick where we are.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, no, I really do need to not have my ego in place, even though this is doing well right now, this specific market. You've got to be able to look beyond and see potential and understand data and really recognize that even though it might be now that it's doing well, it's important to see 3 months down the line, 4 months down the line.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with what you're saying. And it's very easy to fall into a trap of, it's doing well, let's just continue to ride the wave. It's actually very easy.
No, totally. And I did pick that up about you the other week, and I was like, I'll give you some time. Give you some time to think about it.
I got upset.
Yeah. So the other area I see is they get emotionally, and sorry guys, there is our dog Rome hanging around here, so you might
Hear some puppy
you're looking at
noises.
me. Yes, I know, boy. We'll feed you and
wanna
walk
come
you in a minute. Leave him there, otherwise he's going to
Being part
he's
of
a good, I wish you guys could see him. Maybe we'll flash up a picture of him or something.
Yeah.
Cute boy. Getting emotionally attached to a specific property type. This is probably the second biggest one, right? I only want a house, or, it's got to have X block size, or it's got to have this type of configuration. Again, like, why? If there's a valid reason and we can justify it fits the strategy that you're looking to use, right? Maybe you do need a big block size because we're doing a secondary dwelling. Makes sense, right?
Yes.
But having, the living room configured in a certain way,
So the lounge
to the
room
kitchen,
fits
sorry, well, how does that make any sense to you making money out of property?
And also, it's understanding, like you're saying, right to your point, why are you wanting that specific thing? Like, what actual difference does it make to the end goal? Because that, as you said, it can limit you, and you put yourself in a box, and then, you just close off options.
Yeah.
The other thing, from what I always think about with this particular point in property type, value is value. That's the bottom line.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I've found deals where the house is not appealing at all.
Yep.
It's a shitbox, to be honest. Structurally fine, but aesthetically not.
Yep.
So I think it's also important to always understand, if this is a financial decision in investing in property to grow your wealth, you've got to be able to be a little bit, I guess, ruthless, can I use that word, in shifting through what is important and what isn't important.
100%. Totally agree. Just expanding on that point, value is value, right? And I think I have done a podcast recently, or it might come out soon.
One?
Yeah, where we get so obsessed with data and trying to pick and time the right market, we actually just forget to find good value deals.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the next point, is trying to time the market perfectly.
Yeah.
So you buy at the bottom, and then as you buy, the market starts to rise. No one ever does that. And if you do, it's just by luck and chance, because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right? But just to expand on that a little bit, there are markets, take Perth, for example. It's had a massive run. It's done really well. By all the data points, it's still growing, but very, very slow on what it once was. There's still great value there if you know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So the point being, and I gave a good example, I think, on the potty that I did, where it was if I told you as the investor that I could buy you a house, freestanding house, on a big block of land in Sydney for $800,000, no catch or anything, that's just what the price was, you would jump at it, right?
You'd be an idiot not to.
Because it's an amazing deal, and that's obviously not going to happen.
But I was focused on Brisbane, though.
Yeah,
previously.
exactly. You wanted you wanted Melbourne because it was just going to pop, right? But I'm like, if you can find a good deal, it doesn't matter where it is.
A deal's a deal.
Because a deal's a deal, and you're making money on the way in. That's your equity over the long term that you're essentially getting, right?
Yeah.
So a good deal is a good deal, and I think it's so important for people out there to not get too fixated on these other things. They're all important. Data's important, but a good deal trumps most of that any day of the week.
100%. And I think when it comes down to building a portfolio, it's really important, and I've had to remind myself of this, it really, like, through your journey, you will have to pivot because, the bank requires certain things for you to continue to lend. And really, it doesn't care about your preference at all. Like, I've had to, like, suck up my ego at points and buy units at
Yeah.
certain parts of my journey.
Yep.
And I think importantly, from how I felt at that point, I was like, all right, well, what actually needs to be done to get to my goal? And I quickly realized, like, it rewards, growing a portfolio more so rewards being adaptable than actually caring about my preference, really.
Totally.
So yeah, it's interesting when, like for me, I've had to put my foot in my mouth so many times, like even Melbourne being an example.
Yep.
I'm like, it's not it. It's not it. And then slowly you look at the data and understand it more. And then you're like, okay, maybe.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think to that, well, like, there's a point in time when I was like, granny flat's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Why would I spend 200 grand on a granny flat when I can just go and buy another property?
Yeah.
But at this point in my portfolio, it makes sense now, right? Likewise, there was a time when I would have never have bought a unit. I'm buying units because it just makes sense at this point in the portfolio. But if I was so stuck and rigid on that way of thinking, I would be stuck in a corner, wouldn't be able to move forward. So it's so important. There's one last key common way that investors get too rigid in expecting a unicorn deal.
Yeah.
It's got to have a certain growth. It's got to have a specific yield. It's got to be turnkey. It's got to have, good upside. It's got to have all these things, and it's got to be under 500,000. It's like,
fuck. Sorry.
Go F yourself. It doesn't happen, right? And the thing that shits me the most is they come to us expecting a buyer's agent to be able to pull out a mirror. I'm like, mate, we're not miracle workers.
Not a
right?
magician.
We're magicians, okay? If it's unrealistic and it's a unicorn deal, sorry, we just can't do it, right?
Yeah. Because I think also people forget everybody wants that. That's
course.
what every investor would want. And so you're going to get more competition on that style
and
of deal.
often you pay, those unicorn deals, you pay premiums for them, and then they're not unicorn deals after all.
Yeah.
So those are some common ways, and that we've seen investors get just too rigid, too stuck. So let's talk about like where this thinking comes from, because you and I, we often like recap and review like what we've done with investors that come through and how we can help them better, and essentially how we can better our service offering, right? So we do talk about this quite a lot, and a lot of the times it is the fear that people have is the main driver for them in being rigid. They're fearful of making the wrong move. They're fearful of not being able to hold the property. They're fearful of not being able to afford it or getting stuck. So fear is like the overarching, like, I guess, thing that
The
stops
reason.
people, and the reason, exactly right.
And it is human to, I guess, want to control the process, right? Everybody wants that. But with investing, I've had to learn it's about being comfortable with uncertainty and managing that risk accordingly.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you're going to get stuck.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think another area where it sort of comes from, and I've again mentioned this in other podcasts, is there's just an overconsumption of content.
Yeah.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And I think we're in a great age where there is just so much information out there, but it is also to our detriment because there is always, particularly in property, it's always going to be like a conflicting view on a certain thing.
Yeah.
Which is why, nowadays I'm big on not pushing a certain strategy or a way of doing things without actually knowing the investor individually, because everyone's at a different stage. What makes sense for me might not make sense for a beginner, and vice versa. And so it's really just about tailoring. Like you can't go and get an off-the-shelf strategy and then see if it works for you. You have to have a tailored plan specifically for you, based on your risk appetite, your budget, your goals, all those sort of things. So then you can actually work out something. So I think a good bit of advice for you watching: definitely take all the information in, and obviously watch our podcast, subscribe, like our videos, all that sort of things. But take it with a grain of salt, because we don't know you behind the lens, right? We're here just talking about it. So if you want to tailor a plan, get in touch, smashpropertyinvesting.com.au. More than happy to chat. The thinking also comes from overanalyzing, the analysis paralysis, right? It's
that's a big one.
Typical of, and I was chatting with someone about this the other week. It's like property does attract a certain type of person, generally speaking. Like it can attract a very analytical mind. They like the numbers. They like to, look at data and track trends and all that sort of thing. Because that's sort of where I'm sort of in that zone. And I've noticed some clients, they're sort of in that zone as well. And it's good, but it ain't everything.
Yes.
Data isn't everything in property. People tell a big part of the story, which we've mentioned before. But that's where people can just get stuck. They just get in that one.
Yeah.
Data's got to be the ultimate driver. Data's old. It's aged. It doesn't tell you everything, right?
And that's the important part, like in line with what you're saying. When I started, I feel like there was not that many podcasts, maybe 2 podcasts available when I started my journey. But I did read different books and consume information from different authors. And that way I realized, obviously, with property investing, there's like 1,000 different ways to get to an outcome, but then take into account your situation and what applies to you at that point in time is important. So yeah, I think it's
And then the last...
Sorry, I just rounded that out badly.
And then the last, I guess, area where this comes from is they've been burnt before. I've seen it a couple of times. They've done the off the plan thing. They've done a co-living thing. They've just bought in the wrong area based on some shitty advice. And so now they're like super timid.
Closed off.
They're just super closed off and they're scared basically, which is a shame. I hate to see people that have been burnt previously in property. It does happen a lot, but those are just some areas, and I think where all this stuff sort of comes from based on the reviews and experiences that we've had. So I think it's pretty clear on what the consequences of being too rigid are, right? But let's just chat a little bit about that. Because if you are, for example, rigid and you want to tick every single box that you have, and you've got like a million different boxes, the reality of a deal ticking every single box 100% is just unlikely. Highly unlikely. These are the unicorn deals that just don't exist. It's airy fairyland, right? What would you say any other like consequences of being too rigid? Like what's the...
I think the biggest thing to me when I'm working with people is mainly the fact that if you are being too rigid, is that you are sitting on the sideline for a longer period of time. I think that is one of the things that obviously as an investor costs you the most amount of money, especially when you're pre-approved and ready to go, because a lot of the markets that we're purchasing in, they're going up by 5 to 10K a month. So every time, you just sit on the sidelines, you throw deals away just because, stupid stuff. The kitchen counter was not good enough or the configuration of the lounge is not good enough. It's just like, why are you actually doing this and why?
Yeah, why are you here? What are you doing?
Yeah, and for me, it's frustrating as a buyer's agent because I think, I look at shit tons of properties every day, every week. And it's one of those things, your eye starts to learn to see value very quickly. And when you try and explain that to someone who's just so set in their ways, it's to a degree quite frustrating because then they're just seeing, they're not seeing the potential of what they could be in a position in 3-4 months from that point. And I also just want to say, it's like if you are like most of my investors that I've worked with who have trusted and allowed me to do my job, I've gotten the best result for just because I've been able to go through the detail, align the property to them, their risk appetite, and do my job. And then 3 months, 4 months from them, we're pulling out equity.
Yeah. It stings as the BA or as BAs, like you said, when we obviously have the luxury of experience behind us, right? So we can, like you said, we can see a deal and just by purely looking at it, we can pretty much near enough tell if it's going to check out or not.
It's a banger.
and be good. And it's like when people reject it for some dumbass reason that doesn't make any sense, it's just like, oh God, like it hurts because I'm like, you're not seeing, you're throwing it away, right? So it does burn, and sometimes no matter how much you explain it or how much detail you give, they're just so rigid in that mindset.
I've had to learn how to be a little bit more, baseline my emotions and take that out of it, because
Yeah.
I think for me, like, I always just want the best outcome from my client and for the actual goal that we initially spoke
Well,
about.
that's what I'm sort of saying, is that sometimes we just have to let people go, because it's like, I don't want my name attached to the deal that you want because you think it's going to be good. I can already see it's not. I'm not having my name linked to it. So see you later.
Yeah.
Right. But it's just one of those things.
It's a tricky one, but I think in the flip side is that when people are willing to see value, and actually maybe a better sort of story, I feel like I'm being a bit negative. Like today we had a briefing, and this particular client is a go-getter. She basically is in the mindset of, was it Brisbane or regional kind of thing that she was trying to decide between. And she was really set on Brisbane, but for her particular situation, we had to pivot to understand, all right, what is going to get her to her end goal of achieving passive income sooner? So then we had to show her the numbers, show her the detail in forecasting so that she could make an informed decision. And she was willing to do that, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty special when someone is like, no, this is what I want based on nothing. But now that I understand what is going to be possible, let me just pivot.
Yeah, no, she is great. So like, I want to talk a bit about how flexibility creates momentum, in that you don't have to compromise on your goal. You may just have to compromise on the pathway to get there. So to sort of break that down a bit, you might have a preconceived idea about what it is that you want and how it's going to get you there. But for example, maybe like in that example today, the area that we initially wanted, the cash flow is not going to work. Right. So it's going to actually delay getting to our goal. So therefore we've got to compromise on area. All right. So we can actually get the cash flow to get to that 10-year, 100K passive income timeline. So this is where the goal should always be the North Star. The goal should always be, I'm heading there. We've just got to be flexible about how it is we get there, because things change, interest rates change, cash flow positions change.
Definitely.
We have to be flexible.
Your portfolio does not care about what your preference and feelings are.
Two shits
Numbers
about your feelings.
do the talking.
I want to talk about some real examples from clients where their adaptation led to some amazing outcomes. And I think there's a couple that come to mind. I'm going to say the Bundaberg deal from late last year, where they just put total faith in the one of the brothers.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it was the first brother. Put total faith in us to just get the job done.
Yeah.
And we got one of the most outstanding deals that we were able to get.
Love it.
460K purchase price, 1,000 square meter block of land, renting as is for $570 a week. Currently valued just between sort of 530 and 550 in 6-7 months, right? 460 to 530, 540 in 6 or 7 months. Insane, right? There's another one, the Yamanto deal.
Oh yeah, that guy's very cool. I like
bought it. We bought it 50K below market value at the time. We picked it up for 650.
There was a little bit, for full context, a little bit of work required to the roof. I think it was 5K or something.
$5,000 of work that needed to be done. Picked it up for 650. Low set brick house, reasonable sized block of land, and current value 770, and that's
shit.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
that. 770. And that was
full equity. I
think we're talking maybe 6 or 7 months as well. Maybe 8, maybe closer to 8 months.
Yeah, it's 8 months now.
Now that's where people they come to us. They have a plan. They have a goal. We work out, what is going to actually suit them, and they allow us to execute.
100%.
Right,
even recently, like this particular client I'm working with, 2 damn properties in 2 months.
Oh yeah.
He's a G.
Absolutely.
Bought one in Brisbane, the first property.
Yeah.
I think we picked it up for $679 bottom price.
Yeah.
Valued on Call Logic, and take it with a grain of salt. This was updated a week ago, 730.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And now he's on to the next one, which is like a subdivided block in regional. So if the person's willing to trust and go through the process and see value, the numbers can work really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not trying to
sound like a douchebag or anything.
You would toot our own horn here or say blindly trust us or blindly trust anyone. It's talking through the plan and talking through the strategy and actually just are executing on a strategy and not sort of like changing midway through.
Yeah.
Say you're wanting one thing, we show it, then you want something else. It's just getting the job done and being aligned all the way through. So smart flexibility looks a little something like this, where we are really clear, or you're really clear when you're buying yourself on what the non-negotiables are, and you've got strong reasoning as to what those non-negotiables are, right?
Yeah.
Could be a yield target, could be long-term potential, could be, uplift potential, whatever it is. You just got to be clear on what that actually is, and know the reason why it's a non-negotiable, not just because you feel it is, right?
Definitely.
We got to let go of the nice to haves, right? So a nice to have doesn't get you to your goal, but maybe you might have a nice to have. You might be a specific suburb. That'd be nice to have in this area, but I'm not set if it's not, because if the numbers make sense somewhere else, then I'm happy to go with it. So I think kind of, just being flexible with the nice to haves and knowing what they are.
Definitely. Having a more open criteria allows you more ability to have, visuals on more deals. So the wider your net, the better you can see possibility for different deals so that you can get the best pick off the litter. Yeah. Essentially, I hope I've articulated that properly.
And then like seeing each deal in the broader context of your strategy and your goal, right? And I always say this to clients, it's like the property is just a vehicle to get you from A to B, right? It's like a stepping stone. So we've just got to make sure it's the right stepping stone, and because I see a lot of people, and there's a particular client that we have where they're just so set on the one property that they're about to buy now. And it's like, okay, you want to buy this property because you need a really high yield. You are going to hit a dead end. Right? Because a yield never got anyone financially free. It's the growth that does that.
Exactly. But it's also like what I tend to see happen, and it's human nature as well. When you only fixate on one thing, you're willing to forego other things that are actually very important. Like in the sense of, let's just use an example. I only want to buy 50K under market value. Okay, but then you get a really shit yield. Okay, no, that doesn't matter. At least I got a 50K under value. I'm just using that as a example, but the bottom line is what I'm trying to explain is you essentially look past things that are actually important just because you're focused on one thing.
100%. And I think being flexible doesn't mean being sloppy and throwing stuff away. It just means like you're smart enough to adapt to a situation.
Yes.
So definitely don't take us as, just be airy fairy. No, be like calculated, but just be smart enough to know when you've got to adapt and change and flex and this and that. So
it's like a relationship. You've got to be able to compromise and also find things and ways to make things work for the best outcome of yourself and the benefit of the portfolio, essentially.
Yeah, and I think like every investor is going to hit a roadblock at some point with something. It's either going to be you run out of servicing, your cash flows impacting your lifestyle. Like there's a million and one things where investors can hit roadblocks. The ones who keep going are the ones who pivot and they're flexible and like, okay, what do I need now? What does the bank need from me to give me another loan? What gets me closer to my financial freedom? Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that I'm going to have to face is like the exit strategy. The feeling for me of selling property is like I can't comprehend it and I hate the thought of that. But I know it's a reality that I'm going to have to face at some point in my journey for
same here. Like
investing.
There was a point in time where both you and I were like, wow, do you ever want to sell a property?
Stupid.
But reality is that sometimes that makes sense. You wipe out a property, you wipe out some debt and you unlock more cash flow, for example. So really critical. So that's kind of like how people get stuck, where they get stuck, and kind of what you can do to, I guess, not be stuck in your ways. I think, and a probably good life lesson too. I think I was thinking about this before. Like if you're just so rigid, just not even with property, just in life, like there's only so far you're gonna go. I reckon. I found personally, the more flexible I've been, the better outcomes I've gotten. And I know back in times when I was like super rigid about certain things, I look back and I'm like, what a dickhead. Like you just did not know anything back then, did you?
You only know what you know. But I think it's willing to be able to see things and learn. I think coming back to the initial point when we started this conversation, if you're willing to put your ego aside, all your bullshit, and you're able to look at, you know, what is information that's coming to me that might be of benefit, it puts you in a better position.
Yeah. If you need help with your property portfolio, whether it is buying your first one or buying your next one, we specialize in allowing people to see the strategy, execute on it. So we help with everything from putting a strategy together to ensuring the research is done correctly on the area, finding the deal, negotiating on it for you, handling all of the pre and post settlement stuff, finding it, helping you find a tenant for the property. So it's a full done for you service we do at Smash Property Investing. We've got a great team of people behind us that get things done. So yeah, really happy with the team actually. But if you need help, reach out to us. The description below, if you're on YouTube, has all the details where you can book some time with us. Until next time though, thanks for joining us, Akira, buyer's agent extraordinaire.
I like the name.
Yeah, thanks so much to you. If you got some value out of the video, appreciate it if you could like and consider subscribing. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. Catch you soon.
Ciao.